In this video, I'm going to go over escape characters and strings. Here's some examples of escape characters which must be preceded with a backslash character. And the first one is the backslash, which represents a literal backslash character. Now, if you were doing something like printing out file paths which contain a lot of backslashes, if the backslash happened to precede an N, Python would think that you were trying to insert a new line. So in order to avoid those kind of issues, you would always want to do 2 backslashes, which would then output 1 to either the console or the file that you were trying to print it to. Next are single and double quotes. If you have a string that's enclosed in single quotes, you can put double quotes in it and it won't be an issue. However, if you were trying to put a single quote inside a string that's enclosed in single quotes, you would have to precede it with the backslash character. Otherwise, Python will think that that's where you're trying to end the string at. And the same thing goes for double quotes. Next is the new line character, which represents a line break or a new line character. And this pushes all the text to the right of this escape character down to the next line. Then we have the tab, which just inserts a tab. Then you have the carriage return, which represents a carriage return. And what this does is it brings the cursor back to the beginning of the string and then starts overwriting the beginning of the string with whatever is after the carriage return. Then you have a backspace, which will just insert a backspace and delete whatever character immediately precedes it. And then you have the form feed character, which is not used very often anymore, but it will be used to push the cursor to the next form or page. Then you can insert characters based on their octal value, or you can insert characters based on their hexadecimal value, or you can insert Unicode characters using a 4-digit hexadecimal value or an 8-digit hexadecimal value, and you can insert Unicode characters by name. If we jump into our development environment, we can go ahead and start practicing these. The first character we'll look at is the backslash. So if I were to put this backslash just right here in the middle of the string and it has no escape character right after it, Python has no problem with this. So when I run it, it'll output hello world with the backslash in there just fine. However, if I were to try to put this backslash somewhere like before this R, it would now think that I'm trying to insert a carriage return here, and it would move this cursor back to the beginning of the string and start overwriting the string with whatever is to the right of the carriage return. So when I run that, we'll see that we get this jumbled up string right here. So in order to actually put a backslash before the R here, I would have to put 2 backslashes. Now Python knows that I'm trying to insert a backslash here. So when I run this, we'll get the hello world with the backslash before the R. Next thing we can look at is quotes. So this string here is enclosed in single quotes, so Python will have no problem with me putting double quotes inside the string. And if I run this, we'll get the output with the double quotes around world just like we expect. However, if I wanted to put single quotes in here, now all of a sudden Python has no idea what this world is doing here. It thinks the string ends at this single quote here. So if I wanted to enclose world with single quotes, I would put the backslash before them. And now it'll properly print with the single quotes around the word world. And it's the same with double quotes. If I had a pair of double quotes enclosing this string, I would not need the backslashes to print out single quotes inside of it. If I run that, works just fine. However, if I wanted the double quotes in there, it's going to think that that's where the string ends and start throwing up errors. I'm just going to go ahead and put the backslashes before these double quotes and run it, and then we can see we have world enclosed in double quotes. Next up, we have the new line character. So if I wanted to print hello on one line and world on the next line, I would put a backslash n in, and it would do just that. And we can see down here that we get hello on one line and world on the next. And we can also put in tabs. So if I run this now, we'll get a big space between hello and world. Then we have the carriage return, which will move this cursor back to the beginning of the string and start overwriting these characters with whatever characters are after it. So if I run this, we end up with just world and an exclamation point. Then we also have the backspace character. So if I were to run this here, it is simply going to remove the space that's right before it. And if I run that, we'll see that we have hello world and they're kind of stuck together with no space between them. We can also insert characters based on their hexadecimal value, and we do this by doing a backslash x and then the 2-digit hexadecimal value. So for the new line character, the value is 0A. So if I run this now, it's going to insert a new line in right here. And if I run that, we'll see that we get hello world on 2 separate lines. We can also insert characters based on their Unicode character by doing a \u and then doing either a 4-digit or 8-digit hexadecimal value. So if I wanted to insert a smiley face here, I would do \u and then the 4-digit hex character for the smiley face, which is 263A. And now when I run this, we'll see that we get the output hello and a little smiley face right there. We can also insert characters based on just their name. And we do that by doing a \N and then in curly braces, we would put the name. So if I put in the name Snowman and I run this, it's going to output hello and then this little snowman. And that's it for escape characters. As you can see, they are very easy to use.